we need to address North Carolina basketball. I know you won.
Bruh.
I know you won. You beat Boston College in overtime. That is not enough to quiet any of the alarms that I am hearing when I watch UNC basketball. Right? Because making it to overtime and winning is obviously better than losing. But just going to overtime in the manner that you did, harrowing. All you had to do, this is how we can literally say it, all you had to do was hold one of the worst scoring teams in the ACC to under 89 points in regulation, and you don't go to overtime. It's that simple. Hold them to within 15 of their scoring average. You don't got to hold them below their scoring average. Hold them to within 15 of their scoring average. You win the game. No drama. And do you know what's even more concerning? And this is why I'm so frustrated with UNC. They showed once again that they can do the things that they aren't doing. I'll explain what that means after we hear from Hubert Davis, the head coach, on the team's motivation.
I think they have found it when they have needed it. And it's needed at the jump ball.
Really concerning there. Really. Here's the frustrating part. In a game like that, defense, atrocious. Okay? Boston College was getting every three they wanted. They were knocking them down at a high clip. Boston College doesn't have a ton of scorers, but suddenly they're scoring a bunch. So the defense was the issue. Then you're down 89-85. Less than a minute on the clock.
There was like 18.6 on the clock.
And suddenly, I want to say, well, yes, you're correct. But when they first got down to 89, I think it was like 27. The details are irrelevant. Suddenly, they turned into like the 2004 Detroit Pistons. Suddenly, they're the best defensive team we've seen. They're forcing 5-second violation timeouts and then a 5-second violation. They're getting steals. They're setting up their offense with defense. Suddenly, they're the best defensive team we've seen all season in watching UNC games. Which you might say is like, oh, good, right when they needed to, as you heard Hubert Davis, right? They found it when they needed it. I'm going, no, you just proved that you have it when you want it, and you went 39 minutes and 30 seconds without it. If you just play that level of defense, you empty the gas tank on every possession, you play that level of defense for 3 minutes, you win the game. You play it for a whole game, you're a top 10 team in the country that you were at the beginning of the season. Now, that to me is as disgusting of a thing to say about your team as you possibly can. If I were a player, you can call me, or if I were a player, if I played basketball at the University of North Carolina, you could say things about our style of play or our recruiting rankings or my level of talent. The one thing I would be furious if somebody said is it's an effort thing, right? Because that's the thing you can control the most. I can't control how tall I am, right? Which is what we've said about UNC a bunch. You're undersized. You don't have the strength. When you play a team with a true big, you're going to be at a disadvantage. I can't control how tall I am. There's nothing I can do in season to become a much, much stronger player. But the one thing I can do is go out there and leave it all on the line every possession. They left it all on the line defensively for about 4 possessions. And those 4 possessions showed how good they could be. It's a decision. Like rebounding, defense, they're effort things. They're about not letting the opposing team catch their breath. If you can do that with the game on the line, do it all the time, especially if you're maybe the rest of your game isn't what you thought it was. Right? If RJ Davis was averaging 23 and you know everybody else were upping their totals or giving you what you thought they were going to give you offensively at the beginning of the year, this wouldn't be as big of a deal. But when the offense stops working, you have to have something you can fall back on. And in this one, the offense was working. Right? Make no mistake about it. Scoring 89 points in an ACC game like UNC did, you expect to win that game every time. It was one of, and I played college football, University of Delaware, I say it all the time. We had like mini goals, one of them every single game. Our offensive coordinator would stand up front, and it was 24 points because our offensive coordinator had gone back through our head coach's career, and he had been a head coach for a billion years. He's one of the winningest active college football coaches on the planet, just took the Temple job. And he went through his entire coaching resume, and he found out the percentage of games that our head coach won when the offense scored at least 24 points, and it was like 89% or something. Saying 89 points in a basketball game? I imagine if you go through the history of any coach, if they score 89 points, the win percentage is like 95%, at least. If you do that, your defense has to be good enough. And when we see you be able to do it late in the game, I'm going, why didn't you do it earlier? Squeaking by Boston College, it's better than losing, and that's about as nice as I could say about it.
I don't know what it was about late in that game where Boston College seemed to just fumble away. They had, 3 opportunities with the ball and didn't even get a shot off to win the game? I mean, again, credit Carolina's defense on a lot of that stuff, but it's also, I thought they actually mismanaged some of it themselves.
For sure.
But still, I'm like...
For sure. BC does not get excused from their part in it. But I'll also say this, right? You apply tremendous defensive pressure on somebody. It's like, isn't it funny how the good teams are always lucky? Like UNC, I think, caused some of the panic, especially because Boston College was probably going, wait a second, there hasn't been defensive pressure all game. Kind of got used to it. Now, where did this come from?